Spider sense tingling? Weird. Usually only goes off if there's danger, but everything looks as calm as a...
Hello, Spider-Man. Come for the meteor shard? Well, you can't have it!
First Doc Ock, and now the Green Goblin? I have got to get a new travel agent.
After playing through the Spider-Man games based on the Sam Raimi movie trilogy, it was time to move on to something different. A game that wasn't based on a movie, but a fresh take on the Spider-Man character that would bring us one of the funnest Spider-Man games I have ever played. Spider-Man: Friend or Foe. The story for this game is very simplistic, which works perfectly for the type of game that it is. Long story short, the meteor that contained the Venom symbiote crashes down on Earth, breaking into multiple pieces, which manipulates the villains' minds, causing them to spiral out of control, and it's up to us to save the villains and save the world. The game does a great job of explaining this, as after the intro you get a lengthy mission briefing that thoroughly explains the entire situation, setting the stage for the rest of the game and making the main objective clear right from the start.
We've tracked the various pieces to their landing sites, but before we could move in to collect them, these nasty pieces of work started showing up.
Perpetual holographic avatar, nanotech offensive monster, or Phantom.
You guys have a department just for acronyms, don't you?
Phantoms aren't biological. They're a mix of solid light holographic technology and the symbiote substance found in the meteors.
So after the initial setup, there isn't much more that's explained in regards to the story. There are cutscenes in between that occur before and after the boss fights, but they don't add a whole lot to the story and are more in line with the dialogue segments between Spider-Man and the corresponding villain. As you get deep into the game, the mastermind behind all the chaos is revealed, serving as a nice surprise if you weren't listening to the dialogue as you completed each stage. After defeating the final boss, it's pretty easy to guess where the plot was going to go next, but it still wrapped up the story in a satisfying manner. Based off the ending we got for this game, it led me to believe that a sequel was on the table if the game performed well, but when you look at these review scores and critic reviews, it comes as no surprise that this game didn't get a proper follow-up. In the end, this story is simple and fun, which makes it a great game that you can turn your brain off and just play. And if you do pay attention to the story, the ending makes all the hard work of saving each villain worth it. The gameplay is where this game drastically differs from all the previous Spider-Man titles that had released before. Right off the bat, the character designs were still based off the Raimi trilogy, but featured a different take on the characters themselves. This gave many, including myself, the vibe that this game is a spiritual successor to Spider-Man 3 that we never got, even if the game isn't called Spider-Man 4. At its core, this game is nothing more than your typical beat-em-up fighter, with you fighting waves of enemies at different locations while you progress the story. The fighting itself strikes the perfect balance between fast and slow, allowing you to execute various combos, but the moves themselves aren't performed so fast that you never get hit. There is a small window after performing a combo that allows the enemy to counterattack if you're not paying attention, so it's necessary to always perform your attacks with the expectation that a counterattack may be on the way. Of course, the main gimmick of the game is the addition of the sidekicks. These sidekicks are unlocked as you finish each level, because at the end of many levels you either fight a villain or find a hero that needs help, which would then become your sidekick. There are plenty of these sidekicks to choose from, with each character having their own special moves that only they can perform. In addition, each character's base attacks are unique to them as well. For example, when playing as Venom, his basic attacks are heavy and slow since he is more of the brawler type of sidekick, while Blade's attacks are quick and snappy, with him using his sword to cut through enemies at a fast pace. The difference in combat between the sidekicks helped give you so many possibilities when it comes to approaching the combat situations. So once you find the sidekick that you love playing with the most, you can stick with them when going through the levels. A cool unlockable after finishing the story is that New Goblin becomes a playable sidekick that you can pair with Spider-Man and run through the levels with him. Now that you've got the sidekick that you want, the game goes more in depth at making your Spider-Man and sidekick unique to your playstyle. To explain, once you have your selected sidekick, you can increase various stats for them and Spider-Man by collecting these tech tokens, which are automatically given to you by defeating enemies during battle. Collecting enough tech tokens would allow you to upgrade a character's health, toughness, strength, and special abilities. Upgrading these would make your Spider-Man and sidekick stronger and more formidable as you progress to the harder stages. But for Spider-Man in particular, you have even more that you can upgrade. Spider-Man has 3 unique web abilities that only he can use during combat, and based on which you like the most, you can choose one to use and then upgrade the moves inside that specific web combat ability. For me, I preferred the web line ability because the throws in this game are overpowered. So when I spent my tech tokens, I chose to upgrade the throw abilities because I like to throw my enemies around constantly during the fights. So whichever web ability you choose, you can do so and upgrade the abilities that cater to how you like to fight all the enemies. But wait, it gets even better. This game leans a lot on destructible items within the environment, so while going through each stage, you're going to be doing a lot of smashing and throwing. Upon breaking these crates or chests, you receive various power-ups. These power-ups could be one of 4 things: health regeneration, mega damage, invincibility, and hero strikes. You could collect these within each level or use tech tokens to buy them from the inventory tab back on the helicarrier. Essentially, these power-ups make the game extremely easy to get through. Even if you never leveled up your characters, as long as you had enough power-ups, you could finish each stage. The game doesn't hold back on giving you enough of these either, as they're found in almost every chest, and outside of the hero strike, you can hold more than one of them at the same time. Out of all the 4 power-ups, the coolest one by far was the hero strike, which is a super attack that is custom to the sidekick that you're using. So if you're playing with Blade and use a hero strike, you will perform this attack. But if you use New Goblin's hero strike, you'll perform this attack instead. These hero strikes are visually appealing and inflict massive damage on whatever enemy it is, big or small. The fact that each strike is unique to the sidekick you're using shows the effort the devs went to when trying to make each pair of characters feel different than the other. It's worth mentioning that you can use these hero strikes during the boss fights because every boss fight you're playing by yourself as Spider-Man, and the hero strikes require 2 characters to perform. Inside each level, there are collectibles that you can find beyond what we've already discussed. Usually found in hidden locations are DNA helixes and keystones. DNA helixes would unlock different rewards that you can access on the helicarrier by clicking the rewards monitor. When looking at the monitor, you will find rewards for characters, locations, enemies, and movies. These rewards aren't anything special, they're pretty much just bios on each character along with some level designs. If there's one collectible I would say you can skip out on collecting, it would be these. The keystones were these stone-looking tablets that when found would unlock doors filled with enemies in a special arena. After clearing out the enemies, you then unlock that arena for use during versus mode. So if you found all the keystones at every level, then you would have plenty of arenas to use when playing with friends. A good way to increase the replayability of the game without making the player do anything tedious on their first playthrough. The boss fights are really fun, but maybe a little too simple for many fans. To start off, when encountering the bosses, you have a cutscene in the beginning which introduces you to the character, and then you have these little scenes in between after completing a certain phase of the fight.
Hold still so I can bop you one.
Each fight doesn't require you to perform special moves or do anything over the top, you just have to avoid simple obstacles or attacks, and then hit the enemy to cause damage. How you hit the enemy isn't always a physical attack either. As in Venom's fight, you don't hit the symbiote, but rather hit the bells that cause damage to him instead. In the Green Goblin fight, you throw his pumpkin bombs right back at him, which cause damage since he never leaves his glider. Even with the simple mechanics to every fight, each boss is enjoyable to fight against and had unique movesets that align with their powers that they're known for. To put it simply, if you're a fan of beat-em-ups and like Spider-Man, this gameplay is going to check all the boxes. It's almost everything you could want in a beat-em-up game surrounding Spider-Man. I thought it was worth mentioning that the level design was great. Each stage felt different from the others, adding a sense of immersion to the game that I wasn't expecting. The devs even took it further and put the villains inside the stages that they would most likely be in according to their powers. A great example is how Sandman is found in the desert surrounded by nothing but sand, instead of being on one of the floors at Oscorp. The subtle platforming in each level made it feel like you really were traveling all throughout the stage. The design helped make each level flow and help reduce the repetitiveness of the gameplay loop. To my surprise, this game had a very kid-like tone to it and doesn't take itself as serious as the movie games. This was a nice change up, as since this was a beat 'em up game, I think it made a lot of sense. Having a game like this be very serious would have held it back from appealing to children who were interested in Spider-Man. Because of the change in tone, I think this influenced the voice acting. It wasn't that the voice acting was bad, but the voices for some of the characters could have been better. Out of all the characters, the only voice that I just couldn't stand was Venom's.
I knew it was gonna be Venom, but I was really hoping it wasn't Venom. Have we ever figured out why you need so many teeth?
The better to eat you with.
It shocked me to see that Quentin Flynn, the voice actor for Axel in Kingdom Hearts, voiced Venom in this game because his voice playing Axel is great, but for Venom, it just didn't hit. I would say brace yourself when it comes to hearing these characters, because after playing through the movie games where most of the main cast was the same, this switch up in voices can be a bit jarring at first. Not a huge deal, just something worth mentioning. Overall, Spider-Man Friend or Foe is a game that completely caught me by surprise. On the surface, it looks like a game that you wouldn't even try if you saw the trailer, but once you get into the combat, the game is very addicting and it's just pure fun. For those reasons, I'm going to give this game an 8.5. After playing through this game, I think it's massively underrated, and if it were to be remade today, then this game would sell like hotcakes, especially with the popularity of Spider-Man at an all-time high. What did you think about Spider-Man Friend or Foe? Where would you rate this out of all the Spider-Man games? Let me know in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed the video, feel free to drop a like or subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.
You think you're pretty sneaky, don't you?
I was, yeah. Oh boy. I'm looking for a crazy guy with big metal arms. Have you seen him?
Yeah, he's inside this building. How bad do you want in?
No, pretty bad.
Then I want to go with.
That could be arranged.